cannot comprehend the neglect of a family library in such days as these." That's a line that Mr. Darcy says to Miss Elizabeth Bennet and others gathered at Netherfield Manor. I don't know how well you might remember Pride and Prejudice, but this is a scene in which Miss Bennet is there with Mr. Darcy, really for the reasons of others that are there. This is Netherfield Manor, and Lizzie's sister is there because her mother, in her meddling way, has contrived for that sister to ride across to Netherfield Manor in the rain and to get sick. And so they're all waiting there for the sister to get better. And Mr. Darcy says, as Miss Elizabeth Bennet shows a kind of an interest in the library there and is commenting to others in the room about his attitude about books, "I cannot comprehend the neglect of a family library in such days as these." I want to tell you a personal story, and then I want to invite you into a bigger project that the Faculty Association and the Pine Hill Board and Atlantic School of Theology are partnering to do together to raise some funds for our own library, which is under pressure because of the pandemic and economic pressures related to that. Within my own family, we've experienced a little loss. We've been very fortunate and very comfortable, but my wife lost some income. And so what we did is we tightened our belt. We found out about government grants, which have helped considerably, but we rewrote our family budget. And then the next thing we did is we bought books. The reason is because we're forced into a situation where we were homeschooling our kids. And so we wanted to make sure that we were doing, the best thing that we could for our kids, which involved getting some resources to hand, building our family library so that we should sort of take care of the life of the mind and the life of this family at a time when schools were closed and there wasn't a clear directive right away for what to do. Not everybody's in such a fortunate position, but I want you to consider what your position is and our position is collectively as we're under pressure. I had a colleague and some others, and I were talking when we learned about the budgets, which is a tightened belt at many schools, including ours at Atlantic School of Theology, and the consequences that it would have for the library acquisitions budget. The colleague asked, "Does COVID-19 kill books?" "Not on my watch," he said. And the Faculty Association met and hatched a plan and is now partnering with the Pine Hill Board, which has put up a matching grant of $10,000, and the advancement team at our school. And the faculty has pledged at least $4,500 to date towards that matching grant. And our goal is to raise $20,000 to help to do two things, really: to ensure that we still have access to key resources and theological research for theological research and education now, and to build our ebook collection for online learning going forward. We have resources like this already, but we need to protect what we have and we need to build it so that we're more capable. I think the books are really important. You can see me walking down the shelving in my basement office here. I'm a book nerd, that is for sure. And one of the things that I want to invite my colleagues and anybody else out there to do is to tell the world about books that matter. And if you can contribute to ensuring access to books in a public trust that is in this library of ours at Atlantic School of Theology, then by all means pitch in. So let me tell you about one book of mine. Maybe one of them. There's several books that I think are special back here in my home library. These are my books, and you can't come to my house right now. So I'll tell you about books that are important to me so that you might think about books that are important to the community here. This is my rather tattered copy of Brevard Childs' The Struggle to Understand Isaiah as Christian Scripture. Now, I had this book with me in Cambridge when I was doing some research in the really wonderful world-class libraries there. Mine is thoroughly bookmarked and pages torn down, thoroughly turned down, thoroughly marked up. I had a sticker on the spine because of how I got this, and I took it off and it tore part of the spine. And I also had an appointment to visit Brevard Childs himself, who I was writing a dissertation on. He had a home in Cambridge, and this was the only thing that I had with me. So he signed it. But I had, by that point, already read it into pieces, and in some ways it feels appropriate. a theological library is meant to be used, and this is one of my best used books. It's a great book for posing the challenge, the struggle of reading the Old Testament scripture, reading the Hebrew Bible as Christian scripture. Childs is looking at the whole history of reception of Isaiah, starting with the New Testament reception of the Hebrew scriptures, and running from Irenaeus right through to really the modern period. He's looking at the whole history of reception and looking for a family resemblance in the way that the church responds to and reads Isaiah. What does it mean to read Isaiah as Christian scripture? And he describes it as a struggle for a variety of reasons, but it is a bracing task. And it's the sort of task that I have found to be sort of orienting for my own scholarship. The challenge that Childs attempts to meet in this book is a challenge that I think any Christian reader of scripture needs to face. So that's my example of a book. I invite you, if you have another book that you care about and wish to talk about, to tell us about that in a short video. Let me tell you a little bit more about this campaign. So there's a matching grant that we have of $10,000. AST Faculty Association has already pledged $4,500. Our goal is to get to $5,000 as a faculty association, just from our own funds and contributions. And so every dollar that you contribute is doubled by this matching grant until we get to our goal of $20,000. Plus, there is in the month of June an opportunity to win a further $20,000 through Canada Helps. So if you donate through the engine that our advancement office has set up, Canada Helps, towards this fundraising goal, then we get every dollar that's entered through their system gives us an entry into a drawing for a further $20,000. So, two challenges to you. One, tell me about a book that matters, a special book that you have access to, or maybe even better, a book that you don't have access to right now because access to libraries is so limited right now. And secondly, I'd like you to contribute if you can, $5, $10 or more. Faculty have dug really deep for this because they really care about this, and we're inviting you to contribute if you can. There are lots of reasons to contribute because you care about libraries. I know a lot of people who know nothing about AST except that they've studied in its library. People who've studied at other universities in Nova Scotia often know about its library just because it's such a splendid place and such a splendid resource. And in fact, we are a net exporter of books. We send more books out than we bring in terms of the interlibrary loans within the network in Canada and Nova Scotia. So if you love libraries, if you love theological education and care about it, or theological research, that's another reason to contribute. A lot of the faculty rallied around Sister Joan Campbell, our colleague who has just retired after 15 years of service. She is leaving AST, and we love her a great deal, and so our gift is made in the name of Sister Joan Campbell. So if you know Joan Campbell and wish to honor her 15 years of contribution to AST, that's a great reason to make a specific gift. And another reason maybe is just because at a time when it feels like much is being destroyed, a library is something that's worth building. So build something with us. We're attempting to continue access now and to build greater access for distributed learning, for online learning through AST in years to come. All right, that's my pitch. Do what you can. And so make a video, make a donation, or send me a message and I'll retweet you on Twitter if you just want to tell me about a book that matters.